everybody, it's Mrs. C from the Fountaindale Public Library, and I'm here today to tell you about a really great book that I read called Not As We Know It. It is Lexile of 550, which everybody can read, and it's appropriate for 4th to 6th grades. I think 3rd graders could read it, but there's some heavy-duty stuff in here that they might not be ready for. So 4th to 6th, even and up, because I loved it. Which I say that about every book, but no, really, this is one of my favorite realistic science fiction. I don't even know if that's such a thing, but it was really cool. So here's the premise of the story. There's 2 twin brothers. They're 11 years old, Jamie and Ned, and they are very different from each other. First of all, Ned has cystic fibrosis. Ned is very outgoing. Ned wants adventure. Ned wants to do everything. Jamie, on the other hand, his twin brother, is very introverted and very cautious child. And it might have something to do with Ned's illness. I think Ned realizes that he is getting sicker and he wants to live his life. He wants to do it all before he can't. So, as Ned gets sicker, he turns out him and his brother end up being homeschooled. And what that means is Mom does most of the, English, math, whatever. But geography and history is Granddad's area. So what ends up happening is not a lot of book learning, but a lot of stories because Grandpa used to be a sailor on the seas and I believe a fisherman. And so he has a lot of really cool stories to tell. And that's basically what he does. Now, from me, this could be just as educational, if not more so, than stuff you'd read from a book. Books can teach a lot. So, but he tells them all these stories of the sea, including stories about mermaids and mermen, which, keep in mind, are in their heads. So one day, they live by the sea, which probably isn't very great for the humidity and the coolness of the air is probably not great for Ned. But one day they go beachcombing after a storm. Now, if you know anything about going to look for seashells and whatnot on the beach, right after a storm happens, a lot of stuff gets washed up on the shore. So they go and they're walking and they see this big pile of seaweed. And from past experience, they know that there's oftentimes good things tangled up within the seaweed. So they get to the seaweed and they're poking around and Jamie, it turns out, I believe, steps on something and it feels fleshy. It feels alive. So they dig through and they see this sea creature. They have no idea what it is. It doesn't look like anything they've ever seen before. He's frail and he's got long, thin limbs and scales, but then smooth skin and he's odd colors. It's very cool. So they're looking at it and it opens one of its eyes and it grabs Ned by the arm and they both scream, "Ah!" And then the sea creature closes his eye and lays back down. And they decide to take it home. So they take it home. They've got this weird garage that they can't really use for vehicles because it's too low and the cars don't fit in. So there's like an old bathtub in there. So they fill it up with salt water. And they put Leonard in there, which they decide to name it. Ned decides to name it Leonard. And Ned gets his way pretty much all the time because Jamie is pretty, it's fine. So they, and they keep thinking about all these merman stories and stuff that Grandpa's told them. And, Jamie has this hope that a miracle to stop his brother from getting sicker. He's the follower of the 2 of them, and he's afraid that as his brother gets sicker, he's going to go a place where he will no longer be able to follow him. So he's hoping that Leonard is this magical creature that's going to help his brother. And it does turn out that Ned and Leonard actually do have some sort of a bond, and they're actually communicating somehow, and they are getting closer and closer every day to Jamie's, horror because, he feels like he's losing his brother to this sea creature. But as Ned gets closer to Leonard every day, he's not getting any better. You got to read it. It's so good. I know I say that about everything, but this one, honestly, it's up there, and it's 160 pages. This is not a huge commitment. Tom Avery did a nice job packing it in such a small package. So it's really nothing. This is a couple days, and I think you'll really, really like it. It's called Not As We Know It, and it's by Tom Avery. Thanks for having me over. Come find me at the library. Tell me what you like. I'll ask a few questions. We're going to find you something that you'll really enjoy, like this realistic science fiction. I don't know. Low fantasy. How's that? That's a genre. Low fantasy, because the story's totally believable. Sea creature, not so much. But check it out. Like I said, thanks for having me by, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.